Director of Ceremonies, Your Excellency Dr. Hage G. Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia, Your Excellency the Vice President, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Tatonkwa Nirwa, Oshirongo Shandonga, I say all protocol observed. The legend behind the Battle of Amutuni. The young prince Nehale Jampingana grew up not getting along well with his elder brother, Prince Kambonde Kampingana. When Prince Kambonde Kampingana was coronated as the king of Ondonga in 1884, his parents, Pingana Shimbu and Namparawa Nangombe, allocated Kambonde's younger brother, Nehale, a district at Utumbe to be located distantly from his brother. In 1986, Nehale decided to allocate himself the Oshitambi territory eastern of Ondonga, declaring himself as king, and left Kambonde to rule the Onamayongo territory western Ondonga. He maintained that, and I quote, "To take for yourself is better than to be given, and to rule yourself is better than to be ruled," unquote. It should be noted that Nehale was simply a no-nonsense man who did not want Ondonga to become what Awambo call a pond of urine. Earlier in April 1885, King Kambonde, with the manipulation of Finnish missionary Matti Rautanen, sold a portion of Ondonga, including a Etoshapan, to William Jordan, an Afrikaner, to become the Republic of Upingtonia. But Chief Nehale defeated and killed William Jordan in the following year, 1886, and reclaimed the Ondonga territory. Some members of the royal family regarded Nehale as rebellious, troublesome, and hard-headed fellow. Little did they know that Mother Nature and divine powers preparing Ondonga's future that was in the offing. Imagine if a different personality was at the helm of the leadership at the beginning of the 20th century. He would have taken the wind out of the sail. Planning the battle. When the Germans built their military fort at Amutuni, lyoManenge, which was completed in 1903, the indomitable Chief Nehale resolved to take the bull by the horn. He was determined to level the intruders to the ground and make them bite the sand. Accordingly, he organized his warriors into a sophisticated formation comprising of the overall commander, the reconnaissance experts leading the scout teams, and skilled sharpshooters from the muskets, muzzleloaders, Martini-Henry rifles, and carbine detachments. You will see detailed descriptions of the names of the rifles in the fort as compiled by historian Dr. Lovisa Nampala, well known as Nakaleke, who hails from Onguta. In the previous year, Chief Nehale had communicated with the kings from other kingdoms, like Neumojakandenge of Ukwambi, Shanika Shanashirongo of Nganjera, Iraedimbe of Ukwanyama, who provided warrior Walaula, and Shikongo Shipping of Ukaluvi, who sent him Kapuya Usiku, and some traditional spiritual power. When he assembled his senior traditional counselors, like Ampanda wa Shiponeni, Shivute Shanjongoro, and Nampara wa Momo, Chief Nehale made it clear that they should leave no stone unturned to dismantle the Namtoni fort. Ampanda and Nampala were responsible for traditional spiritual powers, with Nampala using the tortoise skin treated with the sally-feathered finch for the purpose of disorienting the opponents. These were serious traditional performances. It is not everybody's cup of tea. The army departed from the palace and the chief camped at Omadhia near Omthia Wipundi. There he cautioned Shivute Shanjongolo to read the signs that the traditional spiritual powers would reveal. When they left for Amutuni, Ampanda wa Shiponeni detected danger through traditional spiritual power forecast. Nampara wa Momo and Kaundeka Negongo too sensed danger when they invoked their traditional spiritual powers. But Shivute Shanjongoro, who too was not a new kid on the block in forecasting, was determined to proceed the battle. Upon arriving at Namtoni on the morning of 28 January 1904, the Andonga warriors posed as hunters. Shivute Shanjongoro tried to invite Fritz Grossman, the German commander at the fort, to come out to discuss the exchange of an ox for a rice. Other 6 Germans who were there were Karl Hartmann, who sounded an alarm to the station commander when he saw the Andongas approaching, Sergeant Bruno Lassmann, Warrant Officer Class 1 Richard Lemke, Albert Lear, Jacob Basendowski, and Franz Becker. Grossman suspected that the exchange of an ox for rice was a ruse, and he declined the invitation to go out. The Germans were suspicious as they were tipped off by Finnish missionaries about the impending attack by Chief Nehale. Finnish missionaries were sympathetic towards their German cousins. Missionary Albin Savola in particular, who was stationed at Onipa, is described by history literature as notoriously behaving like a stooge of the German colonial administration. Shivute went back when he noticed that the Germans were not coming out of the fort after bargaining for about an hour and a half. He returned after a while, and meanwhile, Grossman used the interval period to position his team for a battle. Shortly after 11:30, gunfire was exchanged between the Germans and Andonga, killing some Andonga warriors. From the side of the Andonga, the first person to fire a shot is reportedly warrior Ngwidiri. The Germans were using the Mauser rifles. Ampanda Washiponeni, the lighter of the holy fire, did what he could to do best, consecrating warriors with the strength to fight and inspiring them. Shivute Shanjongoro, the battle commander, was performing rituals, armed only with a knobkiri and a whistle made of a duika horn, and waving a horse tail like the ones you see at weddings in his hand, moving freely from one direction to another amidst the hails of German bullets. He was demonstrating the power of the ancestral spirits. That was a battle to talk about. Germans were sneezing, walls were cracking, the soil compacted, clouds melted away, and dust came out of water holes. Oh yes, hails of bullets were proclaiming that Ondonga shall persevere, and gun sounds were affirming Chief Nehale. The literature reveals that in the midst of the battle, the German garrison contemplated to use explosives to blow themselves up and their nearby opponents as a last resort to avoid being captured alive. By 3:30 in the afternoon, the German garrison escaped and fled to Sumip, conceding defeat, and the Andonga warriors overran the fort. Nampara Shikanyandi Shamomo managed to enter the fort, and behold, when he saw a person facing him, he opened fire. Guess what? That was himself in the mirror. That was the first time seeing himself in a reflection. He did not know how he looked like. The significance of the Battle of Amutuni. While many warriors have sacrificed in the battle, as you will hear the names of some of them when His Excellency President Gingop, accompanied by Onkwanilwa Shumbwe, will hand over heroic traditional awards to their families, Chief Nehale's warriors emerged as victors as the Germans abandoned the fort with their wounded colleague, and the Andonga warriors took many war booty, including cattle. The Battle of Amutuni prevented the Germans from occupying the northern part of Namibia called Oambo. The significance of the Battle of Amutuni is that Chief Nehale, residing at Onaena became one of the pioneers of colonial resistance. He passed on the baton and inspired future generations born at Onaena, like Andimba Toivoya Toivo, to pioneer the struggle for the liberation of Namibia. The battle has inspired the famous phrase, which is sung by the Andonga, Ondonga shall persevere. As you have seen, the group that was performing here, which I joined. I thank you.